5,000 years ago, while the rest of the world was arguably still in its infancy, a civilization flourished in the Indus Valley that would put many modern cities to shame. This was the Harappan civilization. Imagine a society with grid-based urban planning, advanced sewage systems that wouldn't be rivaled for 3 millennia, and a script that remains one of the world's greatest unsolved mysteries. My friends, as I walked through the ruins of Mohenjo-Daro, the mound of the dead, the silence was haunting. There are no grand palaces here, no monuments to ego-driven kings, and strangely, almost no weapons of war. It was a utopia of trade and hygiene. But then, around 1900 BCE, the music stopped. The Great Bath, a massive public pool lined with bitumen, was left to dry. The streets fell quiet. For decades, historians blamed a Vedic invasion, but modern archaeology tells a different tale. There are no signs of a massacre, no charred remains of a final battle. Instead, we see a slow, agonizing abandonment. Was it the Sarasvati River drying up, or the monsoon patterns shifting? The Harappans didn't die all at once. They just dissipated. They packed their belongings and walked into the fog of history, leaving behind their seals and their secrets. Look closely at these clay seals. They bear images of unicorns and seated figures in meditative poses. They speak to us, but we cannot understand the language. They are the ultimate pattern interrupt in the timeline of human progress. A civilization that mastered the physical world, only to be erased by the shifting of the earth itself. What happens to a people when their god, the river, simply decides to move? You see, the Indus people didn't just lose their homes, they lost their identity. As the water vanished, the social contract dissolved. Today we find their jewelry in the dust, a testament to a beauty that no one was left to admire. It reminds us that sophistication is no shield against the whims of a changing planet. Deep within the emerald heart of the Peten Bassin, the stone giants of the Maya stand as silent sentinels to a catastrophe. For centuries, the Maya were the masters of time. They calculated the movements of Venus with terrifying precision and built pyramids that pierced the heavens. Tikal, Copan, Palenque, these were the New Yorks and Londons of the first millennium. But by the year 900 AD, the great lowland cities were ghost towns. Imagine a king standing atop a temple, looking out over a starving population, realizing that his blood sacrifices could no longer bring the rain. The Maya collapse is the ultimate historical mystery. It wasn't a single event, but a cascading failure. We used to think they were a peaceful people. But the murals of Bonampak revealed a darker reality of ritual warfare and bloodletting. As the population swelled to the millions, the jungle was stripped bare for agriculture. Then came the drought. Not just a dry spell, but a century-long mega-drought. The mathematics of survival no longer added up. The peasants, seeing their divine kings failed to appease the rain gods, likely revolted or simply walked away. The jungle, ever patient, began its slow crawl back. Vines choked the carvings of the long-count calendar, and roots split the limestone stairs. When the Spanish arrived centuries later, they found people living in small villages, unaware that their ancestors had built the mountain-sized structures towering over them. The knowledge was gone. The books were burned. The Maya didn't vanish in a puff of smoke. They collapsed under the weight of their own complexity. It serves as a chilling warning for our interconnected world. The higher you build, the further there is to fall. Can you hear it? The sound of the forest reclaiming the stone? It is the sound of time erasing human ambition. In the high desert of the American Southwest, there is a place where the rocks have memories. The ancestral Puebloans, once known as the Anasazi, built architectural marvels into the very faces of the cliffs at Mesa Verde. These weren't just shelters, they were masterpieces of masonry, tucked away in massive alcoves hundreds of feet above the canyon floor. For nearly 1,000 years, these people thrived, farming the mesa tops and building intricate kivas for their ceremonies. But in the late 13th century, something turned. They moved from the open mesa tops into these defensive, hard-to-reach cliff dwellings. Why? Fear. The architecture screams of a people under siege. Was it an external enemy, or were they fighting each other for the last scraps of fertile land? The Great Drought of 1276 hit like a hammer. For 23 years, the sky was brass. But the mystery deepens. Archaeologists have found evidence of extreme violence and even cannibalism in the final years. And then, as if a signal was given, they left. They didn't take their precious pottery or their grinding stones. They left their hearths warm and their granaries half full and simply vanished into the south. They became the ghosts of the canyon. To walk through Cliff Palace today is to walk through a crime scene where the victims and the perpetrators have both been dead for 700 years. We see the smoke stains on the ceilings and the handprints on the walls. These were people who lived in a state of high alert, their eyes constantly scanning the horizon for a threat we can only guess at. When they finally abandoned their mountain fortresses, they didn't just move. They changed their entire way of life, as if trying to forget the trauma of the cliffs. The silence of Mesa Verde is not the silence of peace. It is the silence of a narrow escape. The Akkadian Empire was the world's first true superpower. Under Sargon the Great, it stretched across Mesopotamia, uniting diverse peoples under one law and one language. It was an empire built on the silver of trade and the bronze of the spear. But even the First Empire could not withstand the 4.2 kiloyear event. Around 2200 BCE, a massive, abrupt climatic shift sent a veil of dust across the globe. The rains failed, and the once fertile plains of Sumer turned into a salt-choked wasteland. In the ruins of Tel Leilan, we see the layers of dust that buried the city in a matter of years. Refugees fled south, but they found only walls and hostility. This is the recurring nightmare of history, the mega-drought that topples kings. Similarly, the kingdom of Aksum in modern-day Ethiopia once controlled the Red Sea trade, standing as a peer to Rome and Persia. They minted their own gold coins and carved massive granite obelisks, but environmental degradation and the shifting of trade routes left them isolated in the highlands. Their grand monuments were toppled, not by invaders, but by the slow rot of economic irrelevance. These civilizations remind us that we are all guests of the climate. We think we are the masters of our fate, but we are merely the beneficiaries of a temporary stability. As I stand among the fallen stelae of Aksum, I realize that the most dangerous thing for a civilization is not a sudden explosion, but a slow, quiet thinning of the blood. But wait, there is a darker thread that connects these disappearances, a shadow that fell over the Mediterranean just as these empires began to fail. A mystery so profound, it nearly ended the Bronze Age entirely. Who were the Sea Peoples? And could the legends of a sunken continent be more than just myth? Our journey has only just begun. In Part 2, we leave the land behind and descend into the abyss to find the civilizations that didn't just vanish, they were taken by the sea.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey, subscribe to Facts with Fire for mind-blowing revelations every single day.